Hello and welcome back, Transformer TCG fans. Glad to be here. Now, and then some of my the roots of this channel are starting to really come back. So let's get into this quickly. First off, a guest card, armor piercing munitions from Energon Hustlers Phase 1. Blue Pip. Action, choose one of your characters when it attacks this turn in tank mode. So they have a little bit of setup here. It gets +2 to attack until end of battle, and you scrap all the defender's armors. It sounds worded a little funny, but I think it works. So when it attacks this turn in tank, you're going to not just be giving it more attack in tank mode. Most of our tanks have less attack than their bot modes, and most of those are Megatron. He normally has more attack in bot mode, more defense in tank mode. Not every tank has 3 defense, but on average they just about do. So you're going to be giving them a bump, or even brawl, because this looks like brawl in this image, about to crush a dead tree. So you're going to be giving them +2 to attack and scrap all the defenders' armors before the flip. So they got an emergency barricade, they got a scrap, some sort of truck. Sorry guys. Scrap the armor on the all the armors. So it might as well say when it attacks this turn in tank mode, scrap all the armors in the armor slot, and it gets +2 attack until end of battle. So not until end of turn. So if you're able to untap that character and tap somebody again or whatever, that's not going to be pertinent here. So that's armor piercing munitions. Now let's get into Not in Vain and clear this up. Number 1, I have 7 different versions. Oh my gosh, 7 different versions. One is what she wanted verbatim. Let's look at that super quick. When one of your characters defends, and let's reprise. Blue Pip, Secret Action, Star card. It is a very strong card. When one of your characters defends, if one of your characters is KO'd, and the characters add the character's total attack, that was KO'd to one of your other characters until the end of your next turn. Now, textually, that sounds fine, except as far as the game is concerned, well, it doesn't quite flow like it should as far as the technicality of the game. So when I was unpacking this, my brain just went somewhere completely different. I thought we were absorbing the attack from the opponent's character, from their attacker. So, and then I thought it felt like the trigger was when your character, your defender, was KO'd, then all this happens. I was half right, or a quarter right, of what she was wanting. So at first I put when one of your characters is KO'd, add the attacker's total attack to one of your characters until the end of turn. Assuming, for some reason, because she had the words total attack on there, I'm thinking, okay, this is coming from the attacker. They just attacked your character, and we're absorbing all that attack and putting it on another character on our team. But no, that wasn't right. But that's what I thought, and I'm thinking at first, boy, this is a star card, but boy, that could be a questionable amount of attack. That could be attack of 8, that could be attack of 10, that could be attack of 18, especially if you're going up Volcanicus. And they get a whole bunch of bold in there, and it's 20 something or whatever, something really out there and crazy. So I came back and thought, well, let's do it this way. So again, I have the trigger when one of your characters is KO'd, add half of the attacker's total attack, rounded up, to one of your characters until the end of your next turn. So I was taking their total attack, halving it and adding it to one of your characters, other characters. And then I made one where add half the attacker's total attack, rounded up, to a character with more stars than the character that was KO'd until the end of the next turn. And I showed her all these, and she's like, no, that's not right at all. And I don't want the attack to come from the attacker. And I'm like, oh, okay. And there was one more I did that was a lot more specific, still on the same idea. When one of your leader characters is KO'd, not a 2-leader, just a leader, add half of the opponent's total attack, rounded up, to a truck you control until end of turn. So take any of those what you will, but none of these is what she wanted. What she wanted is what we read originally verbatim. And then once I realized she was wanting the attack to come from the KO defender, I'm like, oh, okay, I gotcha. So, and then I got to thinking, well, then there's no total. It would be the base, because if the trigger is when they're KO'd, then they have no upgrades. So it's just the base attack. And so when one of your characters is KO'd, add the character's base attack that was KO'd. So again, this is past tense, to one of your other characters until the end of your next turn. That's not right. So she's like, just give me what I wanted. And I'm like, okay. And so I just put it verbatim what she wanted. When one of your characters defends, if one of your characters is KO'd, add the character's total attack that was KO'd to one of your other characters until end of your next turn. Again, there's a lot of if-then statements. And the trigger here is when one of your characters defends. Well, when this triggers, like I said, for 25 minutes, the battle hasn't happened yet. And then there's a big what if one of your characters is KO'd. Add their total attack. And again, we have a past tense that was KO'd. And then after I did, I was having a problem that week because my brother had surgery, and I was really stressed out, and I wasn't working as much as I probably should have been. And I was concentrating too much on making this video, and I did 7 or 8 takes, and that 25 and 6-minute video or whatever was the last one that I did, trying to unpack all this. And then it was that video, after I had already put it out on YouTube, and I listened to it, and I'm thinking, oh, I get this now. So the trigger is the defense, but not the when you defend. So I did this one last time. Let's look at this. I think this is the correct card for how this should be worded for this game. I should have turned that light off. But not in vain. After one of your characters defends, if one of your characters takes enough damage to be KO'd, add that character's total attack to one of your other characters until the end of your next turn. Bingo. So now we have where this is not going to be flipped over. This is not going to be revealed at the start before battle. This is going to be revealed after battle. The resolution, when revealed, is not going to happen after it's going to be KO'd. It's going to happen, let's read it again. If one of your characters takes enough damage to be KO'd. So technically they're not KO'd yet. You haven't scrapped those upgrades, and they haven't gone to the KO. Technicality. I feel like I'm doing football. So, once I finally figured this out, watching my last video myself, and of course after saying it for 7-8 times, I'm like, this is what she wants. This is how this needs to be worded, and I got excited. Have I sent? I don't think I've sent this to her. I sent them the Fort Max. Oops. Anyway, So, this is the final Not in Vain. 8 minutes, not bad. 8 minutes. So, after one of your characters defends, if one of your characters takes enough damage to be KO'd, so it's not past tense, add that character's total attack before you scrap those upgrades. So it could be an Elite of 1 in bot mode, who has an attack of 6, by the way, not 7, with a fusion bore and maybe something else, maybe a utility like one of my books, a Primus, to give +1. So that's a fat attack of 10. You can put a counter on another one of your characters until next turn for an extra 10 attack. So when it's finally your turn and you scrap those upgrades, you put the character in the KO, you scrap Not in Vain, you draw for turn, this is still a big swing back. So it definitely warrants the start that she wanted. So this is still a great card. And a great idea that she came up with. It took me just about 2 weeks to unpack, to understand how this technically needs to be worded for this blasted game. So there is finally Not in Vain. So let's move on. I want to get into some characters now. And I think I have this right. This took me a while because I had gotten this guy. He is the Red Alert sideswipe mold of the new characters. Just really cool. This is Clampdown, and of course in my good old fashioned way, I took images of the box and made a card out of him. And so the image, it might be a little grainy, but let's take a look at him. This is going to make you smile because I have no idea who Clampdown is. I had to go to the wikis and learn about this character a little bit. And let's say in a real world, if Hasbro had their smart britches on and didn't dilute magic cards and didn't cancel this game, etc., that, you know, in a real world you could have Clampdown without his teammate. Could you play just him? Yeah, you could. Why? Let's take a look. He's a 7-star head of the IPEP, whatever that stands for. Look up this character. You'll know what that acronym is. I don't know. He's a leader. He's a car. He's a ranged character in alt mode with stats 3, 11, and 2 with bold 1. When you flip to this mode, do 1 damage to an enemy. In Finding Nemo. Do 1 damage to an enemy. That simple. This begins with Miko Tezuka on him in team mode. Okay, so I used now, before we flip him over, let's go to her team mode. Yeah, I got an alarm going off. Her team mode card, which is basically head mode with a different format. I mean, it's the same format, but let's take a look at her. So she's a 3-star character in team mode. So she's going to go under him, and these extra stats are going to be shown on top. I don't know if this is how this works or not, but this is how I'm doing it. So with this 3-star character, which is now turning Clampdown into a 10-star character, is going to give +1 to attack, +2 health, and +1 to defense. Because Clampdown's initial 3, 11, 2 is about normal or average for a 7-star character, but for a 10-star character, including Miko, is now going to be 4, 13, and 3 in alt mode. Now let's look at this. This starts under Clampdown. This begins in team mode under the alt mode of Clampdown. When that character is KO'd, even if it was your last character, deploy this to the battlefield in character mode. So I found we have bot modes, we have team modes, we have head modes, we have lots of different modes in this game that I was able to utilize to say, let's see how we can do this, because I found her in the wiki, and you can just see the signature of who drew this off to the side. So I guess that's kind of good that that's showing there too, because all I did was screenshot it, and it still looks okay, even though it's not a head. This is a team mode. Etc. So let's go back to Clampdown, flip him around, who's now a leader and a ranged character. So he's a ranged character overall. His stats are 4, 11, and 1 with tough 1. Each time when at least white, black, or flip for attack, this gets +1 to attack for battle. So he can still have Miko under him, giving him stats of 5, 13, and 2. But if he happens to attack and you flip white, black, he's now going to have an attack of 6 before weapon and before flip as a 10-star. So you're going to have to work for it. But we have a couple of cards like I have one called Rise Titans. That is a white and black card. Is it Double Strike? Oh, I had it written down here somewhere. That Buddy has a card also that is white and black that can really help with your Metroplex decks, or any deck really. I think it's Double Strike. I could be wrong, but I'll put this up here too for you to see. So that's Clampdown. But when he gets KO'd, Miko is going to come off. So Miko is an organic, and I didn't add anything else. She's just organic with attack of 2, stats 2, 2, and 1, and a simple bold 1. When this is deployed, you may draw 1 from your deck. This can't flip. I'm keeping her a common because she is a weak character. She is upping his stats. I mean, even though Clampdown does say this begins with Miko on him in team mode, you don't have to. You don't have to. You could still play him by himself if you don't have Miko, but in a real world scenario. But in this case, starting with Miko. When he gets KO'd, she pops out. You can draw another card from your deck. She can't flip. In the meantime, I also made a card called Partner Against Crime. Clampdown, head of the IPEP. And is a 1-star stratagem, so now it's an 11-star character with Clampdown and Miko. When Miko Tezuka is deployed, you may scrap a white and black from your hand. If you do 2 damage to an enemy and repair 2 to another character you control. So I thought that was a neat way to do that. I kind of let's make that an uncommon stratagem. So it's a neat way to sort of team them up. She's helping him, but not in an ability way. She's only helping him in stats and really bumping him up. And so if you do use the additional stratagem here, nothing is getting taken off and redone. It is set so when she is deployed, you may scrap a white and black. If you do 2 damage to an enemy, repair 2 to another character you control, and you can draw a card from your deck. Because when she simply is deployed, you get to draw. But if you have Partner Against Crime, you could be scrapping not just 1 card, but maybe 2 cards out of your hand to be able to pull the 2 damage and 2 repair. And this is only going to be like a one-time thing for this stratagem because the nature of the team modes and head modes of the game. So I thought that was a neat way to do it. And as well, and because this is happening at the same time, you can draw a card first as a result of the deployment. So you are going to be on the defensive, and then you get to draw again for turn. So whatever you have in your hand, you now just drew 2 extra cards to be able to possibly scrap 2 cards if you do have the white and black available to do the stratagem ability as needed. What do you think? So something simple, but something effective, all at the same time. So that's all I really have time for. And I almost gave him an extra bump in something, like defense maybe, with the stratagem, but I'm just going to leave it just sort of as an extra flair for Miko, basically. Even though it shows a stratagem for Clampdown because he's the main character. He's not a body. Miko goes under him like any headmaster character or Titan Master. What do you think? So we got to go over, we finalized Xena Warrior Princesses, not in vain. We've revisited an Energon Hustler card, and we went over Clampdown and Miko. Tell me what you think down below. If you like this content, and I'm going to keep it going until I go over everything that I've done. In the meantime, I'll up next, it should be revealing the submarines because they are done. Waterproof, the Transformer Lighthouse is done. Dingbot is done. Working on Outer Switch, who once I started looking at him, I may have actually been thinking of a tribute to my deceased first cousin who passed away in 2020, but not of what you think it was. It was not the virus. It was other problems, and another a cancer based on an addiction that he had. So there's that I may not have realized, because once I started recoloring him in Paint 3D, and I'm like, this is reminding me of my cousin. So tell me what you think. Throw scraplets at that like button. Let's keep this content up. It's nothing but free, folks. We'll see you next time, and as always, Autobots, flip out, and let's roll for it.